5D mystic, functional adult in the Enlightenment soul age group is all about choosing each other for who we are as we are. And in fact, together we get to grow, and that's by mental, emotional, physical expansion. As people who are aligned with our values and our body, we understand that we each have personalities. And what is also beautiful about being a human guide as a mystic, because some people just focus on these stories and on the ancients. But when you get to focus on being a person and the oversoul, well, that's really amazing. So we learn about emotional body and how to navigate that with the inner growth mindset. And we also understand the mental and emotional aspects of your brain, not by being too boring. It's actually by using storytelling as well as psych education. I'm trauma informed. My name's Maria, anybody who doesn't know, and mysticism is awesome. I have a background where I thankfully did have my introduction to God and Jesus in a very positive way. So I love every moment of my childhood. And when you move beyond the 4D bandwidth, it's not scary and it's not destabilizing. That's for the 4D, 5D. 5D means fifth dimension. It's oneness consciousness. It means Christ consciousness, not because of the religious stuff, because Christ was a mature human being, besides all of the other areas that are for belief systems, which is not where a 5D mystic is. We don't do beliefs. We do scientific methodology, educators, and food for thought. We're not here spelling out truths, because the functional adult is a differentiated self. So I'm Maria, and I'm sharing with you experiences of my own, as well as food for thought, but guidance for those who want to become emotionally mature. So to learn how to have good emotion regulation skills, well, I see a lot of people, they're an adaptive child, 4D, separation consciousness, and they have a very big quote-unquote bandwidth, because the way that the esoteric community talks about 5D, 4D, 3D, it's bandwidths. The way the spiritual community, not spirituality. Spirituality is, for me, yoga, Sadhguru, and it's a whole beautiful embodiment of aspects that can help a person to put their ventral vagal nervous system in action, and through mindfulness have them learn to use their cortex. So actually learn how to integrate the brain, which is integration of the brain. Thank you, Daniel Siegel, the optimized mental health. And that's why mental and physical, one and in, as Sadhguru's mentioned in one of his recent quotes. Yes, because you're an embodied brain like I am. And you have an attachment system like I do, and you have a defense system like I do. Oh, and REM sleep is something very important. Let me use Patrick McNamara, that anyone who has nightmares should watch. You should really watch his video, because it helps you to understand what your brain is trying to do. So before we get started, when we're born, the first 7 months of your life, of my life, any one of us, and our 3 months in the belly of the caregiver of ours, also has an effect on our biochemistry, on our way that the brain will be able to wire and stuff like that. So things people don't believe in, and I'm serious when I say this, the good psychoeducation apparently is too good to be true. They have to keep believing in evil and devil and demons. And so here, Michael Stone, before we get to that, I loved his video, Always Well, Big Think, and how he begins by saying, you know, should we really be using this word evil, which has been so long in the sphere of religion and philosophy? And as a person who is an educator, although I'm a storyteller as well, I will agree. I will agree to allocate evil where it should be, which is with the religious belief. And so people have belief systems. They get to keep on living that belief system. People who want to talk about being smart, well, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable means you look at all information. Now, if you want to pick the information, that's cherry picking, and that's great and dandy. We got the flat earthers going on, and, you know, here's why I'm okay with being woo-woo lady and pseudoscience lady, because I ain't empirical doing anything. I'm bringing together different subject matters with people who want to be their infinite higher human consciousness potential experience, which, as a mystic, I love having a 5D mystic community, because while 4D, which is in separation consciousness, spends time in a not very great duality place. They don't learn good emotion regulation. And that's why I was talking about Patrick McNamara, because he explains a thing or two about demonic possessions and what's happening in the physical brain. Now, people will be like, no, but I'm special because I have dreams. I have dreams too. Never made me feel special. I'm special because there's only one of me. You're special because there's only one of you. And if you don't know healthy self-worth, there's a good trauma therapist out there that can help you to gain it. And I'm serious, because self-worth, healthy, thank you, Terry Real, and all of the lovely trauma-informed experts, means you and I'm not superior. I ain't inferior. I don't do the shame button. So shame buttons aren't fun. It's when people feel broken inside their attachment system. Let me get back to Human 101, their emotional regulation, not there yet. So I won't be reading The Scale of Evil by Michael Stone, but you can look at it and you'll find out that all the people that are in the scale, they need a good therapist. They're not some demon who's possessed by anything. Now, as a mystic, I do know of the bandwidth, and I'm looking because I can recognize the energetic imprint since I have experiences, obviously. And I've been talking about the nightmares with people who have them to try and help them to understand that their nervous system is the first spot that they are getting the opportunity, and I say quote unquote because a smart person wouldn't allow themselves to be subjected to waking up every day with basically a horrendous way of going on, no energy. So human way is you're being given the opportunity to work with your nervous system, which is in a window of tolerance, and your brain is actually trying to organize, because see, trauma memory doesn't get time stamped. And our brain and body actually is always looking to return home. Yes, the body to the restorative embodied self, and the brain to integration of the brain, which is the optimized version of mental health for any human. Because when you're an adaptive child, your brain's gone rigid, you've gone rigid, and chaos comes forth, which is where we're in our yellow fight, flight, that survival mode. So some people are like, your fight, flight's going to block you from your spirituality awakening. Your spirituality awakening is the essence of you as a human, and it's the self of you. You got it in the right mode of your brain. Thank you to neuroscience people who are studying the brain now. Some people, they'd rather think of, I'm a special person, than think of, let me get my health in the check forefront and continue. That's why we have the 5D Mystic community, to enjoy being a mystic. So I've not had nightmares personally, but here's where, when I had my little chit chat with God, I told him why I don't believe in evil. I understand this devil thing that was introduced to me, but I also understand that we were given the ability to do free will. So it was very straightforward. I'm like, okay, we have free will. You're giving us two options. If we don't have options, how are we going to take ownership of what I'm going to do? Like, that's the whole point of, how am I going to actually live the faith? And I put quote unquote, because see, to me, it was like straightforward. I'm Maria. I'm going to be who I want to be. Heart, body, value body, physical, energy, emotional, mental. It's very straightforward. But integration of the brain is what you got here. So 5D person is not going to want to sit into, I'm special because I have nightmares. I'm here to be some sort of missionary. The people that are in the 4D collective did not move beyond the bandwidth. And they're not moving beyond the bandwidth because they don't know their own self-worth with their name. They have to have a mission. So some people, they are driven by bonding and certainty. But let me leave that to the side as I'm running out of time and share something important. Every one of us, so the first 7 months of your life, you're either going to develop secure attachment within your body or not, because the right brain mode is all that's online. So go look up attachment categories and or attachment styles. And Edtronic has found that some rupture and repair actually helps to create more resiliency in our nervous system, because they look into why do some people have more trauma than others. And trauma is not categorized as the event that happens to you. It's how your nervous system is able to work with it. And that's the emotional plane. So if you're emotional overwhelm, trauma is too much, too soon, too fast, too long, too little, too late. The hippocampus is not able to allocate it and timestamp it. Stress hormones, it can't store, there's a trigger, and in fact, there's a window of tolerance. This was defined also by Daniel Siegel, which is why your nervous system is dysregulated in that fight, flight, fright. So it's hyper-aroused or hypo, even though the shutdown only comes for other reasons, since we are not any longer with lions, tigers, and bears. So having continuous attunement, a parent that's always meeting your needs, doesn't do good to you. And that's because our nervous system learns to regulate itself, but the environment is important too. And on that note, being a person is not as complex as some would think, but if you get deviated by thinking of things and not learning about your human makeup, that's where you're not going to actually learn good emotion regulation and to move into your Purusha Prakriti. So we do get to talk about this and more, and I do it always this way. But for anybody who's curious, you can tune into the episodes on the podcast. There's plenty on the YouTube channel as well. Subscribe, and I'll be back with something else.